Hey.
Hey everyone.
Hi.
Hey, everybody. I'm really excited today. My name is David Massey, Regional Director for Movement. And today I get a chance to be able to talk to another one of our top producers here at Movement Mortgage, John Bohannon. I also have Sam Klausner, who works in our marketing department. And I have Deanna Reich, who works in our business development department. But I've known John for quite a while. He was one of the very first hires in Georgia. And man, we've had a long, long journey together. And so today I'm really excited. I want to kind of go into some stuff that can help others who are watching this today, John. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of great nuggets we're going to be able to pull out of this over the next few minutes. So, John, just real quick. So the one thing I used to walk into all the operations centers and ask was, who's your favorite loan officer? Who's your favorite loan officer? And unanimously, I knew what they were going to say before I even walked in. And they would say, John Bohannon. Why is John Bohannon your favorite loan officer? John, you want to answer why you're their favorite loan officer?
Well, because I wanted to be. I literally had that thought, like, how can I become when they see my file, that they'll smile, and that if they have a choice of picking my file over somebody else's file, which, there is some subjectivity and which loan gets worked on next. I know we have a very, regimented process for that. But, I wanted to always be the one where if they had a choice, they'd be like, hey, I get this one. I don't want to feel like that they had to get my loan. I wanted to feel like that they got to get my loan. So it was really just being intentional about it. And then when you become intentional, then you think of all of the little things that are important, like how to respect their time, how to say, thank you, how to, when you call, say, hey, thanks for taking my phone call. I realize you're in your middle of like 2 or 3 things, so I know I'm number 4. And they usually appreciate that because, they are doing multiple other things. And if they stop to take your phone call or respond to your email, I wanted to always acknowledge that, I know that they had other things besides that and they made time for me. So it's really just the little things. But being consistent with that is what creates that type of a relationship.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so another interesting fact about you is you didn't start out as a loan officer. You were actually one of your referral partners before you became a loan officer. So you were a realtor and we're doing the realtor and successful at that. And so how has that benefited you on growing your book of business and switching over to the mortgage side?
Yeah, so that's a great question. The thing that really resonated with me at Movement was that at one point of time, Toby Harris had been a loan officer, or not, but a realtor, and so had Casey. And so I felt like they understood what a mortgage company needed to provide to realtors better than other people that had always been loan officers. So, to come to the business the same way they did, it really made me think, hey, this is going to be a place that gets what realtors needs are, and then really emphasizes, meeting those operationally and from a sales and marketing standpoint. So that was a really big deal to know that we were truly a realtor-centric company, and I tell realtors that now. And that really kind of makes them stand up and, pay attention that, we really do have their best interests at heart. And we know a lot of the things that they're going to want before they have to tell us what they are.
Is there anything specific like that, like you can think of that, like an example of that?
Yeah, the things that really I think realtors constantly comment on is that we keep them informed about what's going on with the loan so that they're not having to chase us for information, but we're chasing them down through all of the email updates and milestone updates that we automatically send out to them and their buyer, so that the buyer's not calling them going, hey, what's going on with my loan? They're both, clearly communicated with on what's happening. So that makes the realtor feel good because they referred the buyer to us. So that, it just strengthens that relationship. And then the realtors, hitting the closing dates, that's a huge deal, and the upfront underwriting is also a huge deal. So those are the 3 main things: is communicating, the upfront underwriting, and then closing on time.
Right. John, as far as some other stuff here, I mean, you have had a team. We've gone through some transitions with your team over the 7 years, right, here at Movement. But delegating, I mean, there's only so much one individual can do, and you can't really grow unless you learn how to delegate. Explain to us how you've done that and been able to grow your business through delegating to others.
Well, it was something that I've always had a passion for. When I was a realtor, I was at a point where I needed to hire an assistant. And I remember just, choking on the thought of having to pay somebody to do things that I could do for myself. But, that became very important. So I learned it first as a realtor. And then as a loan officer, I actually was able to help my wife build a lending team while I was still a realtor. And we did it through teamwork because I just knew that, 1 + 1 = 3. There's this synergistic effect of where two people working together can do almost 2 or 3 times what one person can by themselves. So I've just always had a passion for it, and thought that it would be best if each person worked on what are their personal strengths instead of trying to be all things to all people. Let's add people that can match one of my weak points, and then I can continually build on my strength, because my strength can grow a lot more powerful than I can grow a weakness. So I just tried to focus on my strengths.
So how has your business evolved from like creating a lending team for your wife to where you are now? Like, how do you, if 1 + 1 = 3, what are you guys equal now?
Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 people on the team now. So, and that was prior to the housing bubble of 2008. And then when that collapsed, the whole team dissolved, and I was the only one that stayed in the business. And then in the last year, my wife has come back to our team, but I've always had an assistant, for the last 5 or 6 years. Well, actually more than that, about the last 8 years. So I've always wanted to add as many people as I could as soon as it's economically feasible to do that, and give them specific tasks. So right now we're at 4. Like to add another person, but we have to make sure that we're constantly able to afford that and make sure that it makes sense from a business standpoint. But what's great about Movement is that I don't do a lot of marketing to try to get business. I just do a really good job on the business that I have, and that's been an incremental build to my business. And I believe in marketing, and I want to do more of it, but I've just had to really focus on being excellent at what I'm doing, and then spend some time marketing. So I'm looking forward to getting more out in the field and spending more time marketing to replace myself from having to be in the loans as much.
Absolutely. So actually that topic of, trying to get out, duplicate yourself, I've had so many conversations around efficiency with other loan officers. And, the biggest question I receive from people is, or the complaint that I'm hearing is, how do I make the time to prospect, spend time with my clients, self-care, and then also market myself and build referrals? So, you're a multiple time, earner of President's Club. So share with us a typical schedule or how you block your day so that you can fit in most of those tasks. And I would love to hear, knowing that you want to do more marketing, how are you going to place that into your business as well? Yeah,
great question. So, the what to do is always easy. The how to do it is always hard. So I just had to get really committed to my personal goals and make sure that I was doing the self-care, because a lot of times the wheels fall off, not because the business isn't there, but because of our health or a relationship that gets broken, or something else that's not directly tied to the business, but that's one of the tires on the mortgage car that makes it go. So I had to get really intentional about making sure that I was getting proper rest at night, so I'm not grumpy and I can make good decisions. I also had to be, really intentional about waking up. So I wake up, usually between 5:30 and 6. Sometimes it's, way earlier than that. And I found that resting is a discipline that we have to do, because the more we can rest and recharge, the more efficient we are during the day. So it's really valuing just simple things like rest, proper nutrition, giving myself periodic breaks throughout the day to just take a walk to the stop sign is what I do. A 10-minute walk outside is really nice to do, and I do that maybe 3 or 4 times a week. I like to do it more. But you know, I start around 5:30. I have my quiet time, which is really just meditating on God's word, and then reading the Bible, thinking of things I'm thankful for, some prayer, and then I get up and work out because I found that I'm a lot more energized and able to make better decisions when my body is like fully oxygenated. You know, I'd say like fully oxygenated or whatever you say there, but if I've had a big workout and I'm really, you know, hitting on all cylinders, I can attack the day instead of dreading the day. So that really makes a big difference. And then I usually, you know, I'll take a break sometime around 2:30 or 3. I usually work through lunch. And I have, you know, things at my desk like trail mix and amino acids and things like that just to help me not have a crash. And it's preparing for that. You know, I have water at my desk. I have all the things I need. And then I'll work until right now, like 7:30, 8 o'clock, sometimes 9. You know, but I work in family time, either sometimes during the day or at night for an hour or so. And then I get up and I do it again the next day.
So you didn't tell everybody that you eat carrots and celery all the time.
Well, I don't.
Are you a rabbit?
No, I'm a carnivore for sure. But yeah, I found that, you know, paying attention to what our bodies need is really important, because if you wait too long to, you know, to take care of yourself, then it takes a lot longer to get things straight again. So I do keep things around me that I can just quickly grab and not just, you know, be starving or be thirsty and have a problem later.
John comes from a family of expert nutritionists. So he has taught me a lot over the 7 years on what I need to be doing to stay healthy and everything else. So I know that's a very important priority in your life. John, going back to the early days, is there anything that you've noticed, wow, I do this so much better today than I did 7, 8 years ago? And what were those things?
There's a couple things that I would share with myself 7 years ago. Number one is to always answer the call. Always answer the phone, especially if you don't know who it is. If I know who it is, I put everybody in my phone so that I know who they are, and then I can usually predict while they're calling me. So if I don't know who it is, it's likely a new lead. So I'm always going to answer those. But my goal is to keep that phone call to only 2 minutes. So I answer the phone call. I let whoever it is tell me why they're calling, and then I interrupt them after they've talked for about 30 seconds and go, hey, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm with somebody right now, but I always answer my phone. So I've only got about 2 minutes to talk. And what I found is people that are long-winded recalibrate, and they instantly switch to exactly what they wanted to say. And I honored them by letting them interrupt me, but I didn't let them totally take over my time because, you know, some people take as much rope as I'll play out. So I only play out a little bit because it lets me discern how important is that phone call. And then if it's a deadbeat buyer, I get rid of them one way or the other. If it's a good one, I'll say, well, hey, let's set up an appointment. I can call you back in about 2 or 3 hours. And they appreciate that. I had somebody do that yesterday, and literally it was one was yesterday and one was it was a week ago. One guy was buying an $860,000 house, and his bank was falling up, or his bank basically hadn't submitted his loan to underwriting after a month. So I got that one. Yesterday was like a 750 former borrower. Her boyfriend was calling me. I didn't know his number, but I answered the phone. He said, well, I emailed you and then I called you just to see if you'd answer the phone, because nobody answers the phone anymore. So there's a very delicate balance of being available, but not being totally influenced by the phone call. So I think that is really, really important, because if you do that, that already sets you apart, because people want to know that they can reach you, but you have to walk that fine line. So I would definitely say answer the phone, but be ready to cut them off, even if it's a good buyer, because they want to talk to somebody that's busy. So what I always say is, I'm with somebody right now, but I always answer the phone. And truth is, I am with somebody, I'm with myself, and I'm with whoever I'm emailing or working Another thing that I say is I'm working on a closing right now. Well, every single loan I'm working on is a closing. So I say that, and people, oh, okay, well, gosh, thanks for stopping to help me. So those two things are really important. And then another thing that I think is super important is keeping chaos out of your pipeline. Okay, so chaos, and I have this written up on my screen, 1 bad loan equals 7 good ones. So I literally had to write that down because I was taking bad loans, and a bad loan is somebody that will break their loan. And it could be somebody with great income, great credit, big loan amount. It doesn't matter. It could also be somebody with bad credit and not very much money. And I call it chaos, because what happens is they constantly are spinning chaos through the pipeline by not following directions or by just not being ready to purchase. So I make it very difficult for chaotic people to work with me. I make myself not available. I'm slow to respond to them. I do respond, but not as quick as they want me to. And usually they have super high expectations of what I'm supposed to do and very low expectations of what they're supposed to do. So I identify those people, and it allows me to work to give my best to the best. And that's one of my new kind of commitments to myself, is that I'm going to give my best to the best. Because that's where I'm going to be most successful and also happiest. And then what I find is that these chaotic people generally, go find somebody else that they can bring their chaos to, because they don't want to work with somebody that's not going to be there at their every whim and beck and call. So I would say those two have been game changers for me, because it's the everyday things that can break my flow that I had to eliminate, so that I could maintain a good workflow during the day.
Hey, John, so, you're talking about a lot of great points here. And what I know in the background of what you're saying is you're doing this to become more efficient with your time. Correct. And everything else. The one thing that I talk to a lot of loan officers about, I'm sure, Deanna, you do as well, is work-life balance, right? Mm-hmm. And when you're in the office and when you're on these calls, and you're getting straight to the point, you're getting a lot accomplished. You do it with a finesse. Like I said, I wouldn't walk into the operations center and ask the question if I didn't know the answer. They all say you give them more compliments and everything else than anyone they've dealt with, and so I get that constantly. But I guess my last question that I have for you is this: your efficiencies and stuff like that. I have loan officers that are top producers that are sun up to sundown. They work from 6 in the morning until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Some of them even go past midnight. And to me, to be successful, that's not a successful life. It may be necessary to work hard. We all work hard. Right. But what is it that you do to prioritize, God, family, community, business, and all that stuff? How do you keep that in check? And because I see the social media, and everybody lives through their social media profile, you're always spending time with your sons and your wife and stuff like that, and getting away on getaway trips and stuff like that. Tell us a little bit about that and why that's so important to you.
Well, the reason why it's so important is because, Scripture says that life is going to go by really fast. It calls it like grass. It calls it like smoke. It calls it like a vapor. And, you blink and you realize, wow, like 10 years went by. So it's very important to stay grounded first in what is eternal truth, so that we can stay grounded in like the daily activities and how that plays out in our life. And I'm by no means perfect at it, but it's really comes to a place of value, and realizing that like God's my provider. And so it's not on me to make as much money as I possibly can. And I think about that. But at one point in my life, money was my God. And a God, by definition, is anything that you draw your strength from or give your strength to. So it can be a little g God, it can be a big G God, whatever. But that's the definition of what God is for everybody. And money had become that for me. And it was a very miserable time in my life. I made, a lot of money during that time, and was very unhappy. So that really is my barometer for, the daily checkup. And then also, really and truly, it's just getting quiet in the mornings and doing some reflection. And whenever I say I read the Bible, really the Bible reads me. I don't read it, it's reading me the whole time. So the Holy Spirit can kind of tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, you're off balance in this area, because I have blind spots and things that I'm not aware of, but it really makes a difference to have that. I think everybody needs to have some quiet time to hear that inner voice of hey, this is not who you are. What you're doing is not who you are. Let's get back to being who you are. So I think that's really it, because I'm not gonna say, hey, I'm capable of self-regulating, because I'm not. I've wrecked that bus too many times. So I would say that's the easiest way for me to do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today and spending time with us to be able to give some of these helpful hints to others. We appreciate it. And like I said, I get accolades about John Bohannon all the time. John, one last thing. I know I said one last question, but one last thing is, for someone who's considering Movement Mortgage, any words of advice you would give to them about Movement and what it's done for you and your family? You've given us a lot of tips or whatever, but just maybe a final thought on what would be one thing you would like to say to them.
For someone that's considering Movement, I would say check it out. Talk to other loan officers, talk to realtors that have worked at Movement or used our services. There's a lot of great, predominantly you're going to hear very good, but each loan officer at Movement runs their own book of business just like any other real estate agent does. So if you're hearing mixed things, just know that, you know, there's a mixed bag everywhere. And it's that, so, and this is the thing, is that we all use the same platform. We all have the same services. So you have access to the best, to world-class marketing, to world-class operations, to world-class interest rates, world-class everything. And it's just going to be up to you to how you use it and what you want your reputation to be. And it can be whatever you want it to be. And there's that available to you. And I would just recommend, take advantage of it. And know that your business can grow to over 100 million. We have multiple over $100 million producers. And you don't get there overnight, but it can get there. And Movement is all about helping you do that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. It was awesome to get to hear what you had to say, just from like your perspective of things.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. It's great to see you guys again.
Good to see you.
Okay.
Thanks, John.